All right, let's dive into one of the most chilling and just baffling maritime mysteries ever. We're talking about 3 lighthouse keepers who vanished from a remote Scottish island back in 1900. So, picture this. It's the day after Christmas, 1900. A relief keeper finally gets to shore and walks into the lighthouse. And what he finds is a scene that's just frozen in time. The beds are made, the clocks are all wound, and this half-eaten meal is sitting right there, as if someone just evaporated in the middle of a bite. Everything was perfectly normal except for one giant, terrifying thing. And that's the big one, isn't it? That's the question that hangs over everything. On this tiny speck of rock in the middle of a huge ocean, 3 skilled, experienced men just disappeared. They left behind a puzzle that even now, over 100 years later, nobody has been able to solve. Okay, so let's really put ourselves in that moment of discovery. The relief keeper's name was Joseph Mòr, and as he steps into that lighthouse, he knows something is deeply, profoundly wrong. The whole scene was just one big contradiction. I mean, the main door was unlocked. That's a huge breach of protocol for these guys. But inside, it looked like business as usual. The lamps were perfectly trimmed, beds were made, everything was tidy. But then you see the stopped clock, and realize the last time anyone wrote in the log was 11 days ago. It's like life on the island just stopped on a dime.
Now, to really get how bizarre this is, you have to understand who these men were. These were not rookies, these were absolute professionals, and they were stationed at one of the most brutal, unforgiving posts in all of Britain.
I mean, just look at this crew. You've got Ducat, the unflappable veteran, Marshall, the guy known for keeping perfect logs, and McArthur, a tough guy, considered one of the best. This is key, because these are not men who would panic. These aren't guys who would be careless. So whatever got them, it had to be something truly extraordinary. And this was their office. Eilean Mòr, it's Gaelic for Big Isle, but don't let the name fool you. It's basically an exposed rock getting hammered by the Atlantic Ocean, 20 miles from anything you could call civilization. There's nowhere to go and absolutely nowhere to hide. And to give you a sense of scale, get this. The actual lantern of the lighthouse, it sits 150 feet above the sea. That's so high that even in a bad storm, waves and spray could crash right over the top of the entire thing. We're talking about a place of just immense natural power.
Okay, now we get to what is, for me, the most unsettling piece of evidence in this whole affair, the lighthouse logbook. Because the story it tells about the keeper's final days, well, it just doesn't match up with reality at all. Thomas Marshall, the log keeper, he described this unbelievable storm. But what's even more disturbing is the human side of it. He wrote that Donald McArthur, this tough, experienced sailor, was crying. And James Ducat, the 20-year veteran, was very quiet. Something out there wasn't just a storm. It was terrifying these hardened men to their very core.
And here is where the story completely goes off the rails. While Marshall is in the lighthouse writing about this apocalyptic storm that's making grown men weep, every other weather station, every ship in the area reported calm weather, clear skies, a moderate breeze, no storm. The event that was traumatizing the men on Eilean Mòr apparently never even happened.
But something clearly did happen. When investigators checked the island's west landing, they found evidence of some kind of incredible force. Heavy iron railings were twisted like pretzels. A huge supply crate that had been bolted into the rock was ripped free and thrown 40 feet. I mean, this points to a massive, violent impact, like a huge wave, but a wave from a storm that, according to all records, didn't exist.
So you've got this mess of contradictory evidence. What do? Well, the lead investigator, a Superintendent Muirhead, he had to come up with something. And the explanation he settled on has pretty much been the official story for more than a century.
The theory is pretty straightforward, almost tidy. It says 2 of the guys, Ducat and Marshall, went down to the landing to secure some gear. Then, out of nowhere, a single, massive freak wave hits and just washes them away. McArthur, the 3rd keeper, sees it happen from the lighthouse, runs out to try and help, and he gets swept away too. Case closed, right?
It sounds logical on the surface, doesn't it? A tragic accident. But the moment you start comparing that neat little theory to the weird details found inside the lighthouse, it starts to completely fall apart. This theory just leaves way too many questions. What about the half-eaten meal? And why in the world would Donald McArthur, a seasoned keeper,
run out into the North Atlantic in the middle of December without his heavy protective coat. That's unheard of. And why was the lighthouse door unlocked? And of course, the big one, how do you get all that damage from a storm that nobody else saw? The official theory doesn't solve the mystery, it just creates more. So in the years that followed, with no good answers, the legend of Eilean Mòr just grew and grew, casting this long, dark shadow over the island that's still there today. You know, the keepers who came after them often talked about this feeling of dread on the island. It was not a popular posting, as you can imagine, and eventually, in 1971, they just automated the whole thing. They took people out of the equation for good. No one has been stationed there since. And here's a detail that's just so powerful. That damage on the western jetty, the bent iron railings, that physical proof of whatever violent event took place, it's never been fixed. It's still there today, 120 years later, a silent monument to whatever happened on that rock. And let's go back to that logbook one last time, because people who've studied the original pages say you can see a change in Thomas Marshall's handwriting. It's not the scrawl of someone in a panic writing quickly, no. It's the handwriting of a man whose hands are shaking, just uncontrollably shaking. And then there's that very last entry, written on the morning of December 15th, after their storm was supposedly over. The writing is reportedly clear again, steady. God is over all. Is that a prayer? A statement of acceptance? A warning? We'll just never know.
And really, this is the question that sticks with you, the one that gets under your skin. What on earth did those men witness that made a veteran keeper's hands tremble so much he could barely hold a pen? And, more terrifyingly, what happened on that calm December morning that finally stopped the shaking for good?